reality and our expectation. So, since there's a gap between this reality which is present in the world and what we're expecting in our mind, this huge gap. So, this again causes a lot of anticipation and fear in our heart, the heart of a conditioned soul. So, first was bodily conception of life, which causes fear. The second is there's this gap between reality and our expectation. And the third was time factor itself. Time means change. This material world keeps moving because of time. As the time keeps ticking, the world moves. Everybody's evolving either in their spiritual lives, and even just the body itself ages. So all of these three factors causes a conditioned soul to have fear. It's very natural. So this is the condition because of the absorption in something which is not real. So the cause or the antidote to not having fear was two things. One was hearing and chanting. The hearing of Srimad Bhagavatam and chanting of the holy names. This was the antidote for fear. So today our topic is faith and fear. So how faith plays a major role in overcoming fear is what we're going to be discussing today. So in this, faith means trust in something sublime, is what Srila Prabhupada translates this word faith in the Bhagavad Gita. Faith continues, I mean, the whole bhakti process also, if you the 9 stages of bhakti, Ada, Shraddha, Tata, Sadhu, Sangha, Bhajana Kriya, then Anarthana Vriti, Nishta, Ruchi, Asakti, Bhava, Prema, all these different 9 stages that our acharyas have given in this book called Madhurya Kadambini by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. When we see that, right, every stage, it's just, saturation of faith. So faith is getting more intensified. So each stage can be said that the faith of the sadhaka at that particular stage, he has reached such a firm faith where, it cannot be shaken, especially when you come to Nishta and then the stages beyond that. When it comes to stages below Nishta, his faith is still, it's kind of like not very strong. It can be shaken by different associations that the sadhaka takes up. So this is what our acharya says. So faith means trust or trust in something sublime, something higher than us, in an existence or a reality or a truth in which we believe and invest our heart in. That's faith. So when I look at Srimad Bhagavatam, which is just nothing but conversations of the great acharyas, the great kings, the great rishis, it's completely nested. One conversation is present in the other. And the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Amala Purana, it gives us many stories of how faith is present in these great souls, and how by hearing these narrations, our own faith can be nourished and replenished if it's not there or if it's depleting. So in second canto, we're seeing, in third canto, we're seeing how sages, some of the conversations are where Sukadeva Goswami is replying to the questions that Maharaj Parikshit is saying. And then the parallel is where Sutta Goswami, who has heard the conversation when Sukadeva was, giving this discourse to Maharaj Parikshit, he had heard everything. So now Sutta is also answering the sages of Naimisharanya. So these are nested conversations. And the other one in third canto is where Vidura is asking Uddhava questions about what has happened to Krishna. Is everything well? And Uddhava has just witnessed this, passing away of Krishna. Before Krishna actually moves to Prabhas Kshetram, Krishna is there in Dwarka, and Uddhava, being a very, very intimate friend, associate, or confidant of Krishna, he's very, very dear to him, more dearer than Arjuna himself. So Uddhava could understand that Krishna was leaving. So he comes to him, and then there's this whole Uddhava Gita, which happens in the 11th canto. He asks a lot of questions to Krishna. He says, all the things that you said, the essence of what you spoke to Lord Brahma, the essence, the Chaturshloki verses, please could explain. And then Krishna explains everything to Uddhava. And then again, Krishna takes all his associates and goes to Prabhas Kshetra. There, when Uddhava understands now Krishna is leaving, this is the reason he's finding up his earthly pastimes, and he doesn't want to be separated from Krishna. And he again goes to him, and this time Krishna again, reveals more information to Uddhava. After this, he realizes that the end pastime will happen where the Moshala Leela, where Jara, the hunter, shoots the arrow at the lotus feet of Krishna, and then this is the way Krishna chooses to depart from this world. So Uddhava has experienced and seen all these things, and now Uddhava is asking what happened. And Uddhava is like, he says, the son of our dynasty has passed away. What else is there to say? And then he starts speaking about all the glorious pastimes, the glories of Krishna and different pastimes. It doesn't touch much upon the passing away of Krishna. This is because Uddhava realizes he's choosing willfully to this the earth shaking, or like what do you say, the situation which he was exposed to would have shaken the faith of anyone. He had seen the whole Dwaraka getting collapsed. He had seen the Dwarkavasis fighting with each other who had so much of love for one another. And then he had seen Krishna, the Supreme Personality of God, and he himself is leaving the world. So at this time, his faith could have been really shaken, and he could have said, is he the Supreme Lord? Is it true? He could have started, questioning himself, but then he doesn't do that. So sometimes there is a distressful situation which people, conditioned souls go through. This distressful condition, sometimes it affects the body, sometimes it affects the mind. But some situations, like how what Uddhava experienced, they can affect even the soul. And then when it affects the soul, what happens is our faith can be shaken. This is the effect of earth-shattering experiences. A similar one which we can understand is like when a soldier is fighting in a battlefield, and then he loses his fellow colleague in the war. He is killed, and then it shakes him up. But then his commander is killed. That shakes him up further. He feels even more distress. But then if the major, who's like really indefeatable, if this kind of a person is, if the enemy shoots him down, then what faith and hope does the soldier have? So it's like this kind of an incident will shake his soul. It will shake his very faith. So this kind of situation, it happens in all our lives also. So this is the point. What we are speaking about right now is how what we try to choose to focus at this kind of in this situation. It'll determine our course of action. So where can we get that faith? That faith will come when we associate with this kind of a faith will come when we associate with those who have faith, because we absorb, or like we take in the association of others. If they have deep faith and we associate with them, the same kind of faith comes to us also. But then if we associate with those who don't have faith, then obviously our faith will also be shaken. And so that's why it said, like in the workplace, you give association, you don't take it, you don't reveal your heart, your innermost desires to those who are your work colleagues, etc. But then again, when it comes to intimate association of devotees, we reveal our mind. There's 6 loving exchanges, which Rupa Goswami has told. So like this, when we are revealing our minds and hearts, then what happens is our faith grows, our faith is nourished. So this is a trick. So that's how we get faith. So we can see Uddhava, his faith wasn't shaken. He knew that Krishna is Supreme Lord. He had tremendous faith. And then he did not, it's even said when Uddhava asked, Uddhava was feeling so much of separation that he was in the spiritual world. And just because he had asked the question, Uddhava had asked the question, and he had the service of answering him, he came back. He withdrew his consciousness from the spiritual world and he came back to this material world and he was answering. So this is the level of absorption that Uddhava had. And Uddhava's faith wasn't shaken. Similarly, we can see Srila Prabhupada, when the Gaudiya Math, right? When the Gaudiya Math was present in the presence of, when Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj was present, Gaudiya Math was flourishing. But then in the absence of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, there was a lot of war that was happening, not war, I would say, fighting that was happening amongst the prominent leaders. And this is something which could have shaken Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada was a family man. He had a business. He had his wife and kids. take care of them. And he could have just felt like, let me just distance myself completely away from all this. Maybe it's not true. And this is not how Prabhupada reacted. His faith wasn't shaken. So sometimes things like this will happen where our faith is challenged. For us, it can be like, local authorities. If something happens, if there's a fall down, then obviously our faith is shaken, right? But then that's not what we are encouraged to do. We should continue to have faith in Krishna and in this process of bhakti, which is laid out by our Guru Parampara. And we need to keep that faith. That should not nothing in the world should touch or affect the faith that we have in Krishna and in bhakti itself. There will be challenges either at the temple level or in the organization level or some great person falling or whatever. Yet, or disputes or challenges on this temple versus the other temple, so many things. Yet, our faith should not be disturbed. This is what is recommended in the Shastras, and this is the only thing which is going to protect us. So we need to be aware that yes, there will be distresses, there will be challenges, yet our faith should not waver. And we can see how when Srila Prabhupada also, when he was leaving, in the last moments when he was leaving, he was still giving his purport to Srimad Bhagavatam, and he was saying, Krishna is in control. Krishna is a supreme personality of Godhead. So when a person is speaking certain words, there are two things which are important. One is the context in which he's speaking and the content of that words which he's imparting to the other person. So Prabhupada's words in that moment was like, a person who's leaving the body and still he's saying Krishna is in control. Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. So it carries a lot of weight. It makes a deep impression on the people who are listening, the people who are there around him. And even today when we are, this was the last words that Prabhupada was saying. So it makes a lot of impact. So what was he saying? Krishna is Supreme Lord. He is the controller. So we need to have deep faith in that. Prabhupada did not give up even in that last moment. Of course, Prabhupada is he's a Goloka person. He had just come here to save all of us, to remind us and to give us love for Krishna, bring us and introduce us to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Ram. This was Prabhupada's mission, and Prabhupada's words has a lot of impact on us. So we can see how Prabhupada was directing and strengthening each of our faith in those last final moments. When a person in Bhakti Yoga, in Bhagavad Gita 10.10, it says, Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam tatami buddhi yogam tam yena mama payantite. That means for a person, Krishna is saying, it's one of the Chatushloki verses, Krishna is saying to Arjuna, when a person is having a lot of love, with a lot of love, if he's performing devotional service, I will give him the intelligence with which he can come to me. So this Dadami Buddhi Yogam, this Buddhi Yoga or this intelligence or to connect back to Krishna is given by Krishna himself. This is the mercy which Krishna provides to a person who is engaged in doing devotional service. And then there's a clause also, Priti Purvakam, that means with a lot of love and affection. When there's a lot of emotions of love and affection that we invest in our devotional service or activities, then Krishna surely will give this kind of intelligence to come to him. This is the way our faith can be redirected even when the situation is bad, when there is distress or things are really bad. Oh my, the relations are not working. Oh, the health is not working. Or the services are not happening. There's so much of things everywhere. But yet, a person who's very strong, if you just remember, you can remember anybody in your life who has this strong conviction, is still continuing studying in their bhakti process. Why is that? That's because Krishna is giving them this Buddhi Yoga, or the intelligence to connect to him under any circumstances. Buddhi is given by Krishna. And then we can see, again, we can take the example of Srila Prabhupada. During the early time when Prabhupada was in the 1922, when Srila Prabhupada first met Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj, his Guru Maharaj, he was thinking, I'm married, I have a child, I'll just continue with my business. And by making a lot of money in my business, I will support Guru Maharaj and his mission. And then he tried so hard. First, he had his whole business set up in Kolkata, and it was in Mumbai, and then he also went to Prayagraj. So all these three places, Prabhupada put his heart and soul to make the business work, but then the business wasn't working. Sometimes there was fire, sometimes the aides, I mean the people with whom he was working, they just took the money and stole everything. So many other setbacks kept happening. His business was not going well. And then Prabhupada comes across this verse in Srimad Bhagavatam, which says that Krishna says, when I show special mercy to a soul, I take away everything. And at this stage, he becomes akinchana. That means there is no other shelter. He has nothing else to rely on other than my lotus feet. This is my special mercy that I show. And Prabhupada just, he saw this whole thing that was happening, the business fiasco that was occurring in his life. He just said, oh, this is Krishna's special mercy. So he just gave up the business endeavor, and then he took up to active preaching. He wanted to, support financially the mission of his guru. But then when this happened, he just saw the whole thing. Look at the perspective of Srila Prabhupada. It was perfect. He completely understood that this is Krishna's mercy. His faith wasn't shaken. His faith was strong. And with this determination, he of course made I don't know what do you say, history or legend. He's a legendary person, Srila Prabhupada. And then Sridhar Swami Maharaj, when he heard that, this is how Prabhupada is interpreted, he was very amazed. And Sridhar Swami Maharaj said to Srila Prabhupada, yes, this is the way to see it. So when we also are faced with challenges, we need to understand that this is Krishna's special mercy, wherein, when things are going smoothly, there is not much of an impetus to take deeper shelter of Krishna's lotus feet. When everything is falling apart, what else do you have? We just have the shelter of the eternal lotus feet of Krishna, which is very soothing and very clear. So that, we can come to him. So Krishna just hastens our, progress, or we coming closer to him. He hastens it by sending difficulties. But then if we allow our faith to be shaken by the difficulties, then we are not passing Krishna's test. So this way we can understand. And whenever something challenging happens, we can deepen our faith, deepen our shelter taking in Krishna. Again, surrender itself has got 6 limbs. Sharanagati, we done a couple, we covered it a couple classical. So amongst the 6 limbs of Sharanagati, the first 2 limbs, accepting things which are favorable to Krishna, and second, rejecting things which are unfavorable to Krishna. These are activities which a sadhaka can do physically. The other 4 limbs, the other 4 parts, they are the kind of disposition that a sadhaka can have. That is, yes, Krishna is my protector, he's my maintainer, he's the only controller, and then the humility or daimya, which a sadhaka should have. So all these 6 constitutes sharanagati or surrender. So the first 2 things, accepting things which are favorable, rejecting things which are unfavorable. So we can see how Prabhupada was accepting everything that was happening in a very favorable way. If things were not working, he just left it. But everything he was seeing it as Krishna's mercy. And this just keeps on increasing or deepening one's faith. And that's exactly what Prabhupada did. And the second story we can talk about, that we can discuss today, is about Vidura. How Vidura also, at the stage when he's actually asking questions to Uddhava about what's happening to Krishna, Uddhava is in a pilgrimage. He had been, Duryodhana had very viciously abused him and asked him to just go away. Vidura invested his whole life trying to, amend his brother, older brother, Dhritarashtra's way, and then making him understand that, should not pamper Duryodhana. But at the same time, try to not be very, inimical to the Pandavas. This was the heart of Vidura. He tried his life, the whole life he was trying to do this, but it was not happening. And then what was most hurting for Vidura is not about what Duryodhana did. Duryodhana's word could have, he could have easily forgiven and said, this is pretty immature. Yes, Duryodhana is vicious. But then what was more troubling to the heart of Vidura was Dhritarashtra, his brother, did not choose to say anything in support of him. He was silent. The silence of Dhritarashtra was more hurting then Duryodhana's words. And then with this pain, Vidura was coming. But then what did Vidura say? How did he see this whole thing? He was saying that Duryodhana's was acting under, he was completely under Maya, and then he was working on it. I mean, he was working as a puppet. But then he was understanding this whole situation of me having to leave this place. This is just Yogamaya. It's allowing me to be completely disentangled. I can disentangle completely from this war situation which is ensued soon, and then I can just go on a pilgrimage. So this is Krishna's arrangement. Is the arrangement of the Lord. So this is how Vedanta took it. So again, his faith in the Lord deepened. He was not shaken. He did not take it badly. His faith wasn't moved, shaken, or broken. But then again, he saw it very transcendently, very favorable towards bhakti. This is the vision of Mahatmas like Vidura. Then we can see um, this whole part of the other part is how Uddhava. Uddhava also, as I already mentioned, he had seen the whole the pastimes of Krishna leaving this material world. This whole pastime is meant to for the asuras or the demoniac people to be bewildered. It's called Asura Mohandeva. That means demoniac people are also there. And then to just bewilder their minds, Krishna performs this leela of leaving the body because Krishna's body is divine. There's no way that there's no birth and death for the soul. We are all parts and parcel of Krishna, and we don't have birth and death. Imagine how can Krishna, Supreme Lord, can experience something like that. But this is just meant to bewilder the devotees, demonic people. Krishna says that he gives faith to those who want to worship even the demigods. He strengthens their faith. So when we think about Krishna being the maintainer for all of us, he is not only maintaining us, but he's also maintaining our faith. The way we choose to have our faith, that way Krishna will reciprocate and strengthen it. So for demoniac people who like to disbelieve and understand Krishna is the Supreme Lord, Krishna will strengthen their faith as well, just like how he strengthens the faith of devotees. This is Krishna's reciprocation. So if we want to have the right reciprocation from Krishna, our faith should be correctly situated. Our thinking, our attitude, our approach should be right. Our consciousness should be correct. So one thing over here very important is the strength of the faith is not the same as the correctness of the faith. That means the person's faith is not, he's invested in it wrongly, then Krishna will just strengthen that because that's what he wants. Krishna doesn't force anybody to love him because love is voluntary, right? So Krishna wants us to choose with our own free will to love and serve him. He doesn't want to do anything by force. That's our love. So even for the atheist, if he looks at this world, he can see that there is everything happening so harmoniously. There is such harmony in the season. Everything happens seamlessly. You can see how the rains are coming with season change. And the rains the rains are coming to nourish and give us water. But then the atheist can say, oh, if the rains are there to provide water for humanity, why does it rain on the ocean? So an atheist can always pose such questions, so he can always take up an exception and then pose questions. This is how they are tuned to see. He can just enter a fantastic building which has got hundreds of rooms, and then 99 of these rooms are clean and tidy. One room is unclean, and then he can just say, oh, this whole thing is untidy just because of this. So this, if they want to choose, if that's their perspective, their approach, there's nothing much can be said or done. If they think the exception as the norm, this is how the atheist thinks, then there's nothing much that Krishna can do for such people. So he just lets them be like that. But then devotees are very magnanimous. Even for atheists, we do the distribution, we give prasadam, we try to make them chant. So that's why devotees are very, very dear to Krishna. This is how devotees approach. But atheists, they just keep denying the reality, and they don't want to. They want to just look the other way. And again, when it comes to our lives, even in our lives, there might be so much of difficulties. But then, Instead of being consumed by the current situation, which is not okay, we can look back at our life and then say, oh, there were so many good things, that happened. At least, say, for example, in my life, I was not going out looking for Krishna, but then some devotee came, then poured some bhakti, and then in the whole bhakti life started because of their mercy, their compassion. So if it wasn't Krishna's, and then because the devotee so willed, Krishna gave his mercy. So just by feeling so grateful for the events which has happened in our life, right? Our faith can be strengthened and nourished. We have to look back at all these situations in our own life and then feel a lot of gratitude for it. Many souls, great souls, they have gone searching for Krishna from very young age. Some of us have not done that. And still here we are, given this great gift and opportunity to serve and perform devotional service. That itself should give us a lot of faith that this process, there is, Krishna is there. And he's not going to leave us just stranded in the middle of the road, right? So he will protect us. He will be there for us. So this is how gratitude should, we should start developing more and more gratitude towards the Lord. And when Krishna sees that there is so much of gratitude, again, he gives us more Vitami, Buddhi Yogam as intelligence again to come to him. He gives this and he provides it for us just by changing our vision. Instead of seeing things which are, in a very myopic way, right? And just thinking of it and just getting the situations might explode. But then we just need to take a step back from a higher level. If you look back and take a high level perspective, then we can understand, oh, this is how it's happening. Krishna's mercies and everything is just that we need to understand. And this will also happen if we understand Krishna is a very kind person. He doesn't do anything unkind for a devotee because devotees are very, very dear to Krishna. So this is something which we can again remember. So this whole process that I've been explaining today is like affirmative psychology. We are affirming that yes, Krishna is kind. Yes, we need to have gratitude. Yes, by performing devotional service with a lot of love, Krishna will give us the intelligence to come to him. Like this, our faith will be strengthened. We don't have to be, fearing from bodily conception of life, fearing, that, this is my expectation, but there's a huge gap between what's happening in reality, or the, fearing from time factor. Just by deepening faith and seeing those who have faith and then associating with them, and our own faith gets more and more deepened. Prabhupada also says in the 7th canto, Manifest Purports, he says we should all be very healthy and stout in both intelligence and mind so that we can distinguish what is the goal of life from life full of problems. So in each of our lives, there is a lot of problems. It's nobody's life is without problems, but then to understand and keep that one-pointed focus on the goal of life that we have chosen. For that, we need to have very sharp intelligence and mind. That would be, again, we are dependent on Krishna. We are very much dependent on the mercy of the Vaishnavas and Krishna for this buddhi or intelligence. So again, we focus more on devotional service, doing our daily devotional service with an attitude or with consciousness, which is filled with a lot of affection for the Lord. That's the trick. It's just not doing mechanically, but then doing it, investing our heart in those activities, understanding it's going to bring us closer to Him. And Krishna is watching. He's watching each of our thoughts, each of every words which have not even spoken. He's there in our heart. He knows our intention. He knows our consciousness. He knows we're struggling, and then He's there to help us. He's just sometimes when it gets too tough or it gets too difficult, we need to know He's there and He'll never give us up. But it's just that we should not give Krishna up. So that should be our our goal. Okay. Yeah, the last part again is I would like to end with this. Wise people practice the process of devotional service with great joy unto Krishna, and they practice with joy. That means this process itself is joyful, and then we should practice with joy, just like how Prabhupada said, chant and be happy. So it can be just taken as one single statement or one single, what do you say, instruction, chant and be happy. Or it can be taken as two things, chant, do your devotion service, and be happy. So even though in our life there is so much of fearful conditions, still we are choosing or trying to be, apply our austerity to be satisfied and, still continue to be happy and continue our devotion service of chanting. So like this, we can strengthen our faith and conquer all the fears in this world. So with this, I'd like to end. Thank you so much for your kind audience. So now we can open up for any questions, corrections, and discussions. Thank you, devotees. Hare Krishna. If you don't have any questions, I think we can end today's class. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, devotees, thank you, Kishori Mataji, Kalavati Mataji, Shri. Yeah, if you don't
Hare
have any,
Krishna Mataji.
yeah, we can. If you don't have any questions, I think we can wrap up.
Thank you so much, Mataji.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Hi, Bol. Thank you. Krishna.